Well, good morning, everybody. Let's just readjust the page a bit here. There we go. Good morning, everybody. I hope you are well. Today is Monday, the 4th of November 2019. My name is Samantha Marshall, and I'm welcoming you to the third of the weekly Change One Thing Challenge 2019 sessions. I hope that you received your email last night and that the Zoom link is working well for you. I shall keep my eye out to see who is coming off into the waiting rooms. So today I wanted to talk about distraction. I mentioned it last week on a Facebook Live and said that I hoped to be able to record you a session on distraction on Friday. Well, those of you that have been with me for a little while know that I do a health walk on a Friday, and often the ladies are way ahead of me in the distance and I have time to myself. Didn't happen this week. We had a couple of new ladies join us and one of them walks at my pace. So I was distracted by looking after her and no Facebook Live on Friday. Then I thought I would do you a Facebook Live on Saturday, but the World Cup was on and that distracted me. And actually, I can't remember what I did in the afternoon. Oh, I went down to the local church bazaar. That distracted me for about 4 hours. And then Strictly Come Dancing came on, and that always distracts me. So Sunday I was plying my trade at a local craft fair, a Christmas craft fair. So I didn't have any intention of doing anything for you there. The background noise was just too much. So here we are on Monday, and distractions is what I would like to talk about. I produced a handout for you. This is my week 1 chart, and as you can see, I managed 4 out of 7 days towards my change one thing. I got distracted on 3 of those days. Now look at last week's. So I actually missed 2 out of 5 days. And if you look at Thursday, you can see that I honestly thought I'd done something. And when I checked my activity log, I realised that I hadn't. So I've made some notes that I want to go through with you about what I did and how it panned out. So on Monday, I recorded a Facebook Live, which should have been a Zoom call. That then got into the conversation on the group about whether you'd prefer a Facebook Live or you'd prefer a Zoom. And the general feeling was that you would prefer a Zoom call because you could be seen on it. So that's fine. Here I am, and I will be here until you guys join or not. It doesn't matter to me. I then took that information and I repurposed it. I took the recorded video that I'd done last week on Facebook and I posted it to YouTube, and I posted it in a couple of groups because it's good, valuable information for people. We then go to Tuesday, and on Tuesday I made a post. What I also did on Tuesday was I went in and I recommended the services of somebody else. I'd been down to Glasgow Tuesday, and I had a really great session, and I wanted to let people know. And what was happening, because I have done this over a long period of time, people have got to know me. They've got to understand what I stand for, and they've started tagging me in posts. So I start to get engagement even when I'm not necessarily on Facebook, because people are talking about me and talking about me kindly. Wednesday was pretty much the same. I created an original Facebook Live, and I used older material, repurposed it and put it out there so that I had content going. I also went off and found some new groups. Now, it's always good to find new groups that are aligned with your core values, because you can get more conversation with them. You can get known by a wider audience. Thursday, I honestly thought I'd done something on Thursday, but it turns out I didn't. I did, however, engage for a lot of the day with other people. Friday, I was totally distracted. I've explained that one to you. But what I did do was I came home and I changed my personal profile logo and cover picture, which then goes out and gets me some airplay. And there was lots of interaction going on Friday. And then Saturday, I was out and I did I put out photographs on Saturday of my stall from the previous Saturday to let people know where I would be on Sunday. So repurposing again. And then on Sunday, I went round and took pictures of the other stalls that were in the room. I sent those out and I forwarded on messages from other people that I shared their messages on. So all of these things were designed to let the algorithm know that I was working as they expected me to work on Facebook. So distractions, putting you off. Those of you that are focusing on changing your way of eating, what are the things that distract you from staying to the path that you've decided? Let's look at the two big things I've mentioned already. I'm an avid fan of Strictly Come Dancing, and I quite like to watch the rugby. And the rugby this season, because it came out of Japan, was on early in the morning. Now, when we've done this before, we've maybe gone to the rugby club, we've maybe had some snacks and peanuts and drink, whatever. This being at 8 o'clock in the morning, actually made it a little bit easier for my way of eating because we had breakfast. But I did find myself drinking an awful lot more coffee than I would normally. It also meant that where I would normally get up, get ready, go out, I pushed that back a little bit so that I could watch the rugby. And the rugby finished with all the after commentaries about 11:15, 11:30, by which point I'm thinking, oh, well, it's almost lunchtime. Is there any point me doing anything? So I'm now distracted by something that's not even in front of me. I'm distracted by my own timetable, by my own thoughts. This is ridiculous. So what distracts you? I deliberately haven't put my phone on silent today, in the hope that at some point during this Zoom call, it's going to ping and I can tell you about that as a distraction. You understand, of course, that today that won't happen. But, you know, having your phone at the side of you is a huge, huge distraction. Especially if you are someone that responds to the ping. You know what I mean? The minute they hear something, they grab for their phone and they're looking at it, no matter whether they are in the middle of a conversation with you, whether they're watching something. Some people just cannot leave their phone alone. I was brought up and did my first business training in a time before mobile phones. Times were very different. The only phone we had was a desk phone that people that had your business number would ring. Friends and family didn't ring your desk phone because you were at work. Friends and family didn't interrupt you. I love my smartphone. I really do. I think it's helped me immensely to move my business forward. But it does mean that you can be at everyone's beck and call. Back in 1991, my cousin was getting married. She lived in Wales. I lived in Buckinghamshire. I was her bridesmaid. I'd only been driving for about 2 years at the time, and I hadn't really done a long journey like this. Back in those days, you got in a car, and unless you stopped at a payphone, you had no way of being in contact with your friends and family until you reached your destination. Back in those days, you didn't even have a TomTom. What I had was a pile of these that had the next junction that I needed to turn off at stuck on my dashboard. And as I got to each junction, I peeled it off and stuck it to the side because that was the return journey. Distractions. So something that we teach in business and have taught in business for a long time, all wrapped up with planning your time effectively, is set a period of time where you turn your phone off. For me, in my office days, it was between 10 and 12. I took no calls between 10 and 12. It went to voicemail. I didn't have my email system turned on either, so emails couldn't distract me from the task in hand. Now, at 12 o'clock, I went and grabbed a sandwich. At 12:30, I started again. And at 12:30, I went straight to my voicemail. I picked up those messages, I prioritized them, and I dealt with them. Now, what I learned very quickly was that I actually needed to prioritize my voicemail calls, then look at my email to see whether people had emailed me in the middle and whether that knocked out any of the calls, prioritize those emails, which on Outlook you could do with flags quite easily by 2 clicks. Not sure you can still do that, but I use Gmail, not Outlook, so I don't know. However, I'd prioritize my emails, I'd prioritize my voice calls, and I would then prioritize how I dealt with it. So by about 1:30, all of that urgent stuff was done, and I could then start looking at the stuff that wasn't quite so important or quite so urgent. In today's society, we have so much distraction. We have so many things, people, adverts calling for our time. How many times have you seen the message on Facebook? Don't scroll by, read me. We even have Facebook distracting us. We go in to do our work on Facebook, and an hour later, we've watched 5 kitty videos and commented on 3 people's breakfast, and we haven't started on what we're doing. Distractions. On my whiteboard at the side of me, I've got about 30 headings of blogs that I will be writing over the next few weeks. And one of them is personal development versus training as a distraction. I'm a network marketer. I believe in ongoing personal development. I'm a trainer. I believe in keeping myself up to date. But have you ever fallen victim to paying for a training course, doing a training course, not implementing the training course, and then when the training course comes around again, you pay for it again and you do it again? I have. And I sit there and think, why am I doing that? I've done this course once and my mindset hasn't allowed me to implement it. I have been too distracted to implement it. Why am I paying for it again? And so I made a promise to myself that if I spent out on a training course and if I didn't implement it, that I wouldn't do it again. Now, that's held me in great stead for the last year or so, because I've really put that into practice. So in October last year, did you hear that? That was my phone. My phone has just pinged, and I think that ping means that I've got a Facebook message. So I'm going to ignore it because it won't distract me from where I'm going. In October last year, I did a wonderful course online with one of my coaches, and it was actually about planning for 2019. I planned, I worked on that. I did fall off the wagon in about April, picked myself back up, dusted myself down, and in June started again, which means that I planned my first quarter of 2020 in September of this year. And I have it written down. I have it where I can see it and I know where I'm heading. That for me was an example of good training because I've taken the basics, I've implemented it. In, let me think, August or September of last year, actually it may have, yeah, I think it was August of last year, I drove to Edinburgh and I did a training course on online courses, how I could create courses and sell them through one of the online platforms. And I went away, I think there were about 12 of us on the course, and we had our own little group. And of those 12, I think only 2 of us went away and did anything. So I created an online Twitter course, which I proudly posted first week of January, because I missed the December sales. And blow me down, 3 weeks later, Twitter changed its interface. So 3 months worth of work useless because my training course no longer resembles Twitter. And I was so upset. I haven't done anything about that training course. And in fact, for the rest of the year, I haven't posted anything up. However, I've got the skills, so I don't need to go to that training again. But I have been distracted. Some of you are doing this challenge to be able to focus. You are looking at me to give you tips, techniques, and help on how to really settle down and move forward. Now, I was really hoping that, Lindsay, sorry, Lindsay, your name escaped me for a minute, that Lindsay would be on this call and we could talk about her particular challenge. I've suggested you break everything down into 30-minute segments because 30 minutes isn't a long period of time, but it is sufficient to actually get something done. You can be driven by a simple clock timer from the kitchen, or you can be driven by your phone as a timer. 30 minutes, move on. 30 minutes, move on. It's all about these goals. It's all about the work that you do, rowing you closer to your goal. Is the activity that you are undertaking income generating? Is it going to move you closer to what you want to do? We all know there are things that we have to do in life. So, you know, housework, washing, ironing, washing up, cooking food, shopping. All of that stuff has to be done to enable us to focus on the stuff that we want to do. Getting out and about, getting a client, being focused, setting targets. So there are some things that, if you go back to my focus, are not urgent and not important, but have to be done on a daily basis to keep everything balanced. I'd like to take this conversation on further. So if you want to put some questions into the comments box below and ask your questions about distractions, ask your questions about focus and goals, then we can really get this motoring. I'd love to see your change one thing sheets and see how you're getting on. You could make notes like I've made notes that will tell you why you got distracted or why you weren't with the program, but it gives you something to work on. Week 1, 4 out of 7 days. Week 2, 5 out of 7 days. So by changing one thing and focusing on what I want to do, I'm making improvements. And I understand where I'm going and what it is that's distracting me. I hope that's helped. We'll talk about it again because it is something that comes up all the time. So for now, I'm going to say lovely to see you. I will speak to you all again next week. Have a good week. See you on the forums. Bye-bye now.